Welcome to A Guide to Every Deck in Legacy. Today we're looking at Goblins. Goblins is a tribal mid-range or combo deck that can be built in various permutations with a multitude of different cards. I'll be going through the most common ones first, but I'll still touch on most options. First is deciding whether to play traditional Goblins or the Snoop combo version, which is similar to modern Goblins. Goblins might look like an aggro deck, but it's actually a grindy and value-oriented mid-range or combo deck. Traditional Goblins is a mono-red mid-range deck that swarms the board and pumps the team with lords, whereas the Snoop version is a combo deck that splashes into at least black and possibly green, although both versions can win with creature beats. To briefly go over the Snoop combo, first, you need Conspicuous Snoop, which has all activated abilities of Goblins on top of your deck. Next, put Kiki-Jiki on top using Boggart Harbinger. Snoop can copy itself infinite times. The tokens will all be tapped though, except for the last one. Use the final activation to copy Harbinger and put Sling Gang Lieutenant or Mog Fanatic on top, then sacrifice creatures until your opponent's life hits 0. Now to move on to the individual cards. Goblin Lackey is an incredibly powerful enabler since it can cheat in any goblin by hitting the opponent. The best options are the bigger mana payoffs Goblin Ringleader and Muxus, although cheating in other goblins is still good. More on those two later. Goblin Piledriver can output a lot of damage quickly and swings past big blue beaters like Murktide and Kappa Cannoneer. Note that while it has protection from blue, it can still be countered. There are a number of Goblin Lords you can play, but the most common are Chieftain and War Chief to pump the team and reduce casting costs. The deck may also choose to run Rabble Master and Legion War Boss as additional threats that combine well with the deck's Lords. Ringleader and Muxus are the big payoff cards that refuel resources. Ringleader hits an average of 2 cards, but can hit more or less. Muxus is the deck's collected company and is the most powerful card in the deck. It adds a ton to the board and is itself a big beater. There's about 50% odds to hit 3 creatures, but hitting 2 is still good. It's very good in combination with Lords that grant haste, since it often adds 3 to 4 more creatures to the board, including itself, which can then immediately attack. Fable of the Mirror Breaker is a card that digs through cards and makes up to 2 goblins. Conspicuous Snoop is obviously the center of a combo, but is also a value engine able to cast goblins off the top of the deck. Kiki-Jiki and Flipped Fable can similarly be used to copy various goblins for value, especially Lords and ETB effects, although Kiki is expensive and Fable slow. Goblin Matron and Boggart Harbinger find specific goblins such as Snoop combo pieces or value cards like Lords, Ringleader, or Muxus. Specialized goblins with niche uses are better in decks playing the tutor goblins. Twin Shot Sniper isn't particularly great, but can kill certain creatures uncounterably, such as Delver and non-delirious Dragon Rage channelers. If splashing black, the deck can run Munitions Expert as a removal spell. If splashing green, it can play Masked Vandal and Ignoble Hierarch. Goblin Trashmaster is a lord that also fights artifacts and is therefore great against decks like 8-cast. Goblin Crater Raker is a removal spell against small creatures, most artifacts, Eldrazi, and colorless planeswalkers like Karnanugan. Sling Gang Lieutenant and Pashligmons turn all goblins into damage sources and make removal spells worse against the deck. They can help set up attacks where even lowly goblins that get blocked turn into damage and can make certain attacks lethal no matter how blockers are declared. Goblin Sharpshooter isn't exactly the same, but functions similarly and can single-handedly machine gun small creatures like elves. There are a ton of other goblins that could potentially be played, so to briefly name a few that occasionally come up: Earwig Squad for combo decks, Jump Palm Incinerator for removal, similar to Twin Shot Sniper, Goblin Chain Whirler for small creature decks like elves, Lightning Crafter, Mog War Marshal, Skirk Prospector, and Sting Scourger. Aside from its various goblins, the deck also plays different cards that act either as prison and mana denial pieces or speed up the deck. The most common are Aether Vial or Chrome Mox to speed up, along with Ignoble Hierarch in green versions, and Chalice of the Void or Blood Moon as prison pieces. The deck's land base can be augmented for either speed or disruption as well. Ancient Tomb and City of Traders are for speed, whereas Rishadenport and Wasteland disrupt. Generally, these two types of cards don't overlap, and the Goblins player will choose either speed or disruption, although Chrome Mox may be in either version. Of special note, most Goblins decks play Pyrokinesis or Fury to fight other creature decks. Goblins can often accrue excess red cards with things like Ringleader as fodder for them. Snoop Goblins can present a turn 3 or even turn 2 win, and all versions are capable of grinding longer games with Ringleader, Muxus, and Snoop. Goblins tends to be very good against counterspells due to having access to Aether Vial and Cavern of Souls. Good opening hands have one or a combination of any of the following: Goblin Lackey, especially if you have payoffs for it, Muxus being the best one, Aether Vial or Chrome Mox to get going quicker, an early Snoop combo win, Chalice of the Void, and a way to play it on turn 1, e.g. with Mox, Tomb, or City of Traders. Sideboards for Goblins are all over the place and can be tailored to the metagame. Generally, you want the typical cards like Graveyard Hate, Fairy Macabre, Leyline of the Void, Surgical Extraction, Artifact Hate, Meltdown, Null Rod, and Pyroblast. It can also run Thorn of Amethyst as a stacks piece against spell decks, since most of its cards are creatures and those that aren't are cheap and can come down earlier than Thorn. Tips and tricks. You generally want to keep Aether Vial at 3 counters, sometimes 2 for Snoop, but can go higher for Ringleader or even all the way up to Muxus. You can activate Aether Vial in your upkeep to put in a cheaper creature before ticking up the counters. There are a number of ways to combo with Snoop if the main plan fails. You can create the tokens on the opponent's end step, untap, and attack with them. You can create infinite tokens and sacrifice them on your end step or to Skirk Prospector to trigger Pashalik Mons. If sorcery speed removal such as Prismatic Ending is a problem, you can use Aether Vial to protect Snoop. If you have enough mana or Aether Vial, Goblin Lords such as Goblin Chieftain can give Snoop haste, letting you combo the same turn you play it. Snoop only gets other goblins' activated abilities, not all their abilities. Cavern of Souls can cast 1 mana goblins through Chalice of the Void. They can also be vialed in past it. Goblins mostly functions with Blood Moon in play, but you still need to keep it in mind for things like Cavern of Souls, Port, and Soul Lands. Munitions Expert and Gem Palm Incinerator check on resolution, so you can kill goblins in response to mitigate their effects. Any goblin with a sacrifice ability can act as the outlet for Pashalik Mons in the absence of Sling Gang, such as Skirk Prospector or Goblin Trash Master. If you want to sacrifice multiple goblins with Trash Master to trigger Pashalik Mons and there's only 1 artifact in play, you can hold priority and keep activating it by targeting the same artifact. You can also target your own vials, chalices, mocks, etc. Controlling more than 1 card in any combination of Sling Gang, Pashalik Mons, or Sharpshooter adds an additional damage for every sacrificed goblin. Pashalik Mons and Sharpshooter can target anything, not just players. Skirk Prospector can provide a sudden burst of mana if you value tempo over resources and is especially useful with Mog War Marshal. It also gets around days payments. Be careful about when you cast Rabble Master since it forces your other goblins to attack. While Goblin Piledriver is good about attacking through blue creatures, it's not good at blocking them since it doesn't stop the big blue beaters like Murktide and Kappa Cannoneer. I hope you've enjoyed this look at Goblins. I want to thank my fellow players in the Magic community for whom sharing their experiences helps make these guides possible. You can find additional resources, such as an up-to-date deck list, in the description. If you think I left out anything important or got something wrong, please leave your thoughts in the comments, and stay tuned to see what deck we look at next time.